Hey, this is Ebube Olivia Akueme and I'm coming to you live from Kent in the UK. How are you today? I hope you're well and you're good and you're having an absolutely fantastic Wednesday. It's another Wednesday, another Wednesday. But hope you're well and you're good. Today, I'm talking about how to overcome trouble times in your relationship. So, when I speak about relationships, I'm talking about all kinds of relationships. It can be personal relationships like what you have in the home, or maybe at work, or in the community, wherever, with whoever. So it's all about, your relationships. Hi Dayo, hope you're well and you're good. You are so welcome onto today's Facebook Live. So if you're just tuning in, like I said, today I'm talking about handling those trouble times in your relationships, because the nature of all our relationships is this: we are all human and we don't always get it right. And the reality is, because of our human nature, from time to time there might be conflicts, there might be differing opinions, there might be whatever you might have that might bring about these aggravations. And sometimes they come from outside, it's not always from within. So it might be, like I said, one of the individuals in the relationship is causing trouble or bringing on this trouble. It can be, maybe it's from their attitude, maybe it's just from the way they do things, it can come from anywhere. But sometimes, like I'm saying again, it can be from, an external kind of factor. So the source of the trouble is not the issue here. The issue is whenever you're faced with troubles or trouble in your relationship, what do you do? Now, let me say this thing about relationships, and I'm talking about relationships whereby there's a level of commitment or there's a level of participation, at least. The best kinds of relationship, like we know, are the ones that are, have the highest form of commitment. As long as an individual says, I'm committed to this relationship, and the other people as well in the relationship are committed to the relationship, then it can work based on some of these ideas. It can definitely work, and you can sail through, those trouble times, those tough times, those very challenging times in your relationships. And as we know, relationships are just, we have them everywhere. When you look in your home, you have relationships there. When you go to work, you have relationships. When you're in the community, you have relationships. So people are everywhere. And as long as you have that level of human interaction on a daily basis, constantly with people, this is one area that it's important that you master. It's important that you understand. It's important that, you get the, you grasp the elements of, what can happen in a relationship, but also how do you handle trouble times. So the first thing really is adopting the right mindset. You see, it doesn't matter the kind of relationship you are in. As long as you're in a relationship, there's a kind of mindset that goes with, all relationships. And one of the ones that I want to hamper on, and this is very, very important, especially when it comes to relationships where you have maybe like in marriages, or, people are courting or dating, those sort of relationships. But you can use this anyway, even between friends and all that. It's very, very important to understand this mindset, that it's never always you versus them. So it's not you having an issue with them. If you come to your relationships with that sort of mindset and approach, like it's me against them, or them against me, or it's me versus them, then there is already a problem there. There is already a problem, because what happens is everything you do will be antagonizing, and it will come across like you're attacking them. And same, if they have the kind of mindset as well, it would seem like everything they do is like against you. So it's very, very important to understand the right kind of mindset, having the right kind of mindset in any relationship that you are in, whether it's between friends or in a marriage, it doesn't matter, or between siblings, or, business partners or whatever. It's not me against you. I want you to understand this mindset. This mindset is us against the problem. It is us against the problem. But let me even take it up a notch higher. It is us and the solution against the problem. Does that make sense? So it's us and the solution against the problem. It's not me against you. So if you're in a relationship right now and you feel that you are being attacked, or maybe you kind of attack people, you might not know. It's a very subconscious thing that happens. It's because of your mindset. It's because of the kind of mindset that you're operating from, which is, it's me against them, it's them against me. No, in a relationship, it's us and the solution against whatever problem that might be, whether the problem is coming from one of the individuals in the relationship, or is coming from an external kind of, influence, or an external thing. It doesn't really matter. My number 2 point, so that was my number 1 point. My number 1 point is understanding and adopting the right kind of mindset, us and the solution against the problem. Now, my number 2 thing is this, that you must always be seeking understanding through what I would call like skills, okay? And there's some skills that would help if you learn how to, if you learn these skills, they go a long way when it comes to any of your relationships. So number 1 would be communication skill. And in communicating, the key skill is always to listen, is the ability to listen. It's not just the ability to talk or to articulate what you're saying. That is important because you have to learn how to, express yourself. That is very, very important. But what is even more important when you're trying to seek understanding through communication means that, and communication is a skill, as I mentioned, means that you must learn that ability to listen. Listen is not hearing the person. So for instance, somebody might be hearing me speak now, but they might not be listening. So when you listen, you take away the key idea that person is, the other party or the other person is trying to express. That is so important. It's important in all of our relationships that you take that away. Now, number 2 skill around this kind of area, around seeking to understand, is when you seek to understand, you must come to the place where you're skilled up enough, you're equipped enough to do some kind of self-analysis. It's very hard, and is sometimes a very humbling kind of experience or thing to go through, but it's essential. It's important that not only do you learn how to communicate and listen, but you also learn how to self-analyze. And in self-analyzing, there's only one thing you're looking for. You're asking yourself, what can I have done better? So be better, right? What can I have done better in this particular situation that has caused this trouble, that has caused this problem, that has brought up this challenge? How could I have handled things better? You're not looking at the other person, because this is what a lot of people do, which is they're very quick to assume and very quick to blame. But aside blaming and aside criticizing other people and aside, complaining and all whatnot, it's time to look inwards, and it's time to, sort of like self-analyze and be self-aware of some of the habits, attitudes, behaviors that you have that causes trouble, or that has that potential to bring about the trouble, bring about, whatever the problem might be. So skill number 2 is actually self-analysis, having the ability to, to be self-aware, but also to analyze your own self and draw certain conclusions like, okay, this is what has happened, this is what I've learned in this particular situation, this was my contribution to this trouble, and going forward, this is one of the things I intend to do. Now, let me tell you something again. One area of seeking to understand sometimes might be through professionals. It is not always that in relationships, 2 parties can come together and sort them out. Sometimes it depends on many factors. One of the factors would be the level of maturity and the level of, some of these abilities that skills like, the ability to communicate, self-analyze, and all that. And in that instance, there's no harm in trying out professionals. So professionals will be like coaches, will be like counselors, will be like whatever, people who are trained to, resolve conflict and to help people overcome troubled times in their relationship. So, like you talk about you know, the workspace, or you talk about, you know, your personal relationships, wherever there's conflict, that tension, you would always have some kind of professional that can handle those you know, issues, that can handle, you know, the conflict, the trouble, whatever it might be, and help you manage through that time. Now remember my quote at the beginning is that every relationship goes through trouble. It's a guarantee that you would always come to a troubled time. You always come to a challenging time in your relationship. And some of those times can be so bad that all you want to do is just to abandon that relationship and walk away. But let me say something. It's only the good ones, it's only the good relationships that get through the trouble. And this is why it's important to approach your troubles in your relationship, number one, with the right mindset, but number two, seeking understanding through skills like communication skills, self-analysis, using a professional help, and those sort of things. Now let me move on to my point number 3. My point number 3 is very, very important, because this has to do with, and I'm going to expand on this, your attitude. You see, your attitude in trouble, when you're in trouble, when you're faced with a challenge, a difficult time, whatever you want to call it, whenever you're faced with that sort of situation, your attitude is one of the biggest factors that would determine if you get through it, or if that trouble would sort of like overcome yourself, or overcome, you know, or probably you will not get through it. So let me put it in very, very simple terms. And when we talk about being guided by some attitudes, number one is learning how to let go. It's never always easy, but learning how to, you know, let go of the issue, and things like forgiveness. Forgiveness as well has to do with a lot of practice, like a muscle. You know, things like letting go, forgiveness, you know, not raising your voice, no name calling, no assumptions, you know, learning those things. Those things are attitudes that can help at the end of the day, you know, not, you know, generalizing, like, you know, this is how the person is, or making assumptions, or working out. There's so many kind of attitudes that would work against the relationship the more you do them. So the less you do them, and the more you learn how to do what is more positive, you know, like practicing forgiveness, practicing letting go, understanding the right tone of voice, and all of that, not abusing people, not name calling, you know, not making assumptions, not generalizing, and all of that will help in going a long way in navigating those troubled times. So my dear friends, I'm going to be stopping here today. Now, this conversation about how to overcome troubled times in your relationship, I have taken from my book, Be Better. So again, if you haven't gotten your copy up till now, go on Amazon, or you can private message me. I'm happy to autograph one for you, you know, sign it or whatever it's called, and, you know, ship it off to yourself. But get one, because there's a lot of nuggets that you can pick up from the book and you can use. But I got all of what I've said today from my book, you know, and there's more there. But there's a way to handle yourselves, and there's a way to navigate troubled times. And the only way you can navigate troubled times is, you know, using some of these ideas and tips that can help you, like adopting the right attitude, having the right skills to help you navigate those times, and of course being guided by some rules, you know, which has to do with your attitude and your behavior. Until next time, my friends, be better. Bye-bye.